Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Power Hour. My name is Jordan, and that is my friend Luke. And if you don't know, we recently returned to YouTube and to the world of wrestling YouTube in particular, to cover AEW on a weekly basis. But also, we are now going to cover NXT. So you're going to get 2 videos a week.
Yes. So you're going to have an NXT Power Hour and an AEW Power Hour.
Yes, yeah.
While NXT's still around.
Yeah, that's true. Your AEW videos will come to you on a Wednesday, and the plan is that your NXT videos will come to you on a Thursday, but they may sometimes fall into Friday.
Yes, and then we'll just do one after an event. So after a pay-per-view, you'll get your WWE SummerSlams and stuff like that. You'll get your takeovers, and you'll get your all-outs and all that as separate videos.
Yes, yeah. So we're actually going to be making quite a bit of content on this channel. Very soon as well. Because SummerSlam is next week. So you know, if you're looking forward to that and want to see our thoughts on that, please subscribe to the channel.
And then what? All out's the week after, isn't it? Or all in, or whichever one it is.
All out is all out. But let's talk about AEW because that's why we're here today. Because AEW had 2 very interesting shows this past week. One of which was the first episode of Rampage, which we'll get to a bit later on. Let's start with Dynamite. Because this was a very interesting episode. I think it was quite an important one in some aspects. And then in other ways, it was a bit like, okay, you're clearly waiting for things now.
Yeah, some of it was tough.
So let's I think we should run down the matches first, and then kind of we'll deal with it how we want to after that.
Well, I'm thinking we do it match by match rather than running down them and coming back. Let's just go match by match because I think it'll be easier then instead of like repeating ourselves.
Okay. So first match. This was
a hot start.
This was a very really good one.
We had a trios match, which those trio titles are coming, right?
Yeah,
they're on the way, especially with all the cross promotion with New Japan, AEW, TN, Impact. I wouldn't be surprised if Ring of Honor mix in because they've already got trios. But hey, I'll get ahead of myself. We had the Elite, so Kenny Omega and the Bucks, versus Dante Martin and the Sydal brothers, and Dante Martin absolutely stole the match.
Yeah, and my God, the guy's like what, 20 years old or something?
Yeah, very young. I think his actual tag partner's injured at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care because he shouldn't.
He was incredible. I don't know because I don't remember what the other half of Top Flight is like off the top of my head, but Dante Martin was insane.
Yeah,
absolutely insane in this match.
Like the fact that he held his own in the ring with the people that he was in the ring with, and he actually outshone them on many occasions during the match.
100%.
It's
I think pairing him with Matt Sydal is clever as well because Matt Sydal was a very similar ink at his age.
Let's not be unfair to Mike Sydal though.
I'm not a big fan of Mike Sydal.
like I get it, but he's not bad, right?
He's not bad, but he feels like Matt Light.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He needs something. The shorter gear isn't enough to differentiate him. He just kind of feels like, oh, it's his brother.
Cool. Yeah, that's kind of how the Hardys felt back in the day, though, right? Back in the day.
I mean, very, very early, I guess, but very quickly it turned into, Jeff being he's going to kill himself one.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, this first match was incredible. It was fantastic.
So I would say that for this episode of Dynamite, this was match of the night for me. I think so. Which is crazy because they opened with the best match. And that doesn't mean, not to take away from the other matches, because there are some matches that I actually do think achieved things in a different way.
Yeah.
Because not every match has to be this stellar showcase of high flying and all this sort of stuff to be a good match. Sometimes a match is about storytelling, right? Which we'll actually get to later, because there's a particular match on Rampage that I think did some very good storytelling.
For sure. So after this match, we had Christian and Jurassic Express come out, and they're both like, "Hey, we have title matches." Woo.
Yeah, well, we did actually. So we were told during the match by the commentary that Christian was getting the AEW World Title match at All Out on September the 6th.
Yep. And then he dropped the bombshell that on Friday Night Rampage that
the very first episode of Rampage, in the very first match,
he was going after the Impact titles, which I thought was very clever.
It was very clever, and also for people who don't know, because not every person who knows Christian will necessarily know that he was in Impact at one time.
Yeah, he's an absolute legend there, and they're the ones that gave him the chance to be that top guy, and he nailed it. He had a fantastic run there, and
and it seems like he's having a decent run so far.
Yeah, hopefully it keeps going, because he's got a good amount of momentum.
But also, obviously, there was the moment. So they came out. Christian announced that, but also Jungle Boy did announce something for Jurassic Express.
Yeah. So next week they have a tag titles match.
Yeah. So at the time that you might be seeing this episode, that episode of Dynamite will be tonight.
Which I think they might win.
I agree. We'll get to why. We'll get to why later on.
My why is literally just because Jungle Boy deserves some kind of gold.
No, I get that. But I think there is a story reason.
Yeah, there probably is. The next match was Darby Allin versus Daniel Garcia. Two very good matches.
I loved this.
I did not. I thought it was boring.
Really?
Yeah, it's a weird one. I really like Darby Allin, and I've only seen last week's episode with Daniel Garcia, and he looks good. But
Do you know why I liked this match? I think is because it showed Darby at a slower pace.
Sure.
And it showed that actually he gave Garcia his time to shine in the match, and I think that while it wasn't the most exciting match, that I agree with you on, I actually think it did a good job in terms of the in-match storytelling. In terms of the, he was trying to kind of grind Darby down and all that sort of stuff. And then the way, Darby weirdly did this weird kind of Hulk Hogan moment where he did some eyes at one point. Yeah. It's just like, really? We don't need that.
Yeah, I think for me it was just a bit formulaic. It was a bit like it's a Derby match, but it was a normal match.
I think for me it was more the fact that this was a match that showcased Garcia better than the previous week's match.
Yeah. Which I think is deserved, because he is very good from the looks of it. It's just I don't care about him yet.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Is the issue. Yeah. And obviously he lost. Oh, by the way, the Elite won the first match.
Yes, the Elite did win the first match.
Because of course they did.
Yeah.
The Elite. They weren't going to lose that match when they've got all the titles. That would be silly. So moving on, we have another trios match, and boy, did I not care about this, because it's got Matt Hardy in it, and I don't care about Matt Hardy currently. He's so boring and dull, and I hate him. So we have Wheeler Yuta, Orange Cassidy, and Chucky T.
Chucky T was the standout in this match.
I'm not a big fan of Chucky T.
I'm not, but this is the point, is he was the standout in this match.
I prefer Private Party, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I do like, but even though I give them shit for being just a heel Street Profits, I do like Private Party. I just want to see something different for them. I like I say something different. Just split off from Matt Hardy, because he's so boring. I'm so bored of Matt Hardy now. He's not fun. I hated that he got the win, which is probably the point. But It's again, it was another trios match, which is again, it's like, ooh, okay, trios titles are probably actually a thing, which will be cool. But man, I just didn't care.
Yeah,
I was like Orange Cassidy, and just didn't care.
I mean, I didn't really care about this match either, because I don't understand what it was achieving, right? And
I think it is just we've got a lot of trios. These trios tags are coming, sort of thing.
No, but that's one of my biggest kind of gripes with AEW. Sometimes
there is story behind this as well. There is like a few.
No,
between the
of
best
course
friends
there
and
is, and I understand
but it's just not
that it's there. I understand that it's there, but for me, the way that I like my wrestling, at least, and the parts of wrestling that I love the most are the ones where I feel like every single thing they do in that story achieves something. And
I mean, this story isn't achieving anything.
And no, but this is what I mean is like AEW are really good at long-term storytelling, and I actually think that it means that sometimes it's actually hard to tell in the moment what the short-term stories are doing because you don't see them. Like this Matt Hardy thing, right now, I'm 100% with you. I couldn't care less about it. But in like 12 months' time, we might feel totally different.
I would honestly care more if he was a manager on the outside.
Okay, interesting.
I don't need to see Matt Hardy wrestling. He hasn't been able to wrestle properly for 15 years because he doesn't have knees. He hasn't been interesting since Matt Hardy V1.
Interesting. Okay.
I all the delete and all that stuff was fun, but I don't.
I think he can do character stuff, right?
I mean, clearly he can.
No,
he's trying to do character stuff now, and it's not working.
But this is an odd character for him. Like, I don't know why he has this character.
Well, it's the one he never got off the ground. He never got Big Money Matt off the ground anywhere. It was just kind of in some vignettes on Twitter, sort of thing.
True.
Whereas everything else he'd done. Remember when he had dreads for a bit?
Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah.
That was weird. But I mean, like
it's
Private
fine.
Party.
I mean, it's fine.
Just imagine, like, if Private Party had a heater and that was the trio instead of having Matt, I think it would be way better.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, other than Private Party, none of the rest of the Matt Hardy faction feel of any consequence.
Yeah.
Like the Butcher and the Blade are just nothing now. Like the Butcher or the Blade or whichever one it is has brass knuckles. It's the Blade. He has some brass knuckles. That's his story. Whatever the hell the other two are doing.
But this kind of goes back to exactly what I'm saying. Is I can never shake this feeling with AEW that actually every single thing they do does matter, even the minor details.
Sure.
But we can't always see it in the moment because we don't know where they're going, and because their payoffs do take a long time. You look at in a different way, you look at the Hangman Page situation, right? And it's like what they've done with him is very long-term storytelling, but there were moments within that story where I could not care less.
I think we might also be giving them too much credit because for sure they've done some long-term story fantastically, but some long-term storylines happen by accident as well.
That's true.
This might not be a thing on purpose. This might just be what they're doing with Matt Hardy and
that's true, but then we don't know that, right?
No, for sure. But we don't know it's the other way either. So it is all just complete speculation at this point.
Yeah, of course.
But I would much prefer it if Matt Hardy was just an annoying person.
I get that.
Sidelines. Because Private Party carried this match for that team. Matt Hardy came in at the end and stole the win. And
you know what, as well? I do actually think Matt Hardy does offer something in a manager role.
I honestly think he'd offer more in a manager role. I think he'd be a fantastic manager at this point.
Because he can still do the mic stuff, right?
Yeah, he's quite a way past it, unfortunately. And it might just be a case that
isn't it an odd one? Just as a little quick aside from AEW, isn't it an odd one how Matt? I know he's had his fair share of quite serious injuries in the past, but Jeff is the one that takes ridiculous risks sometimes, and he can yet somehow still go at a very acceptable level.
I mean, that's because those risks weren't as risky as they look, and he wasn't doing leg drops every single week.
That's true. The leg drops probably
The
killed
leg drop
Matt.
have absolutely destroyed Matt's back and his legs and stuff. Look, I like Matt Hardy
Let's
as
be clear. Yeah,
overall.
I really do like
I just
Matt
don't
Hardy.
think this role works for him currently. I think
it was weird.
I think a manager would be great for him.
But it's weird because what he was doing before this did work.
It did, and that should have been, that should have been him kind of sunsetting and becoming the manager and stepping back a bit.
Yeah.
But it feels less like he's helping these young guys, more that he's taking spotlight from them. Why did he get the win? He doesn't need it. And granted, I get it, he's an annoying heel. But surely one of the younger annoying heels could do that.
I mean, as I've said before, I'm always intrigued to see how it plays out though. And to a certain degree, I will always reserve judgment on a story until it plays out.
For sure. My dislike for this match isn't because of the story. It's just because I'm not a huge fan of Matt Hardy. I don't think he needs to be where he is.
I
must
admit, this was the match that I tuned out the most during. Like, I wasn't paying 100% attention to this match. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what did we have following this?
So, did anyone came out? They had a fight afterwards, I think. Did they have a fight afterwards?
I can't. No, they all got in the ring, right? They all got in the ring. The whole Hardy family.
All of the, people that aren't being
thrown together. People.
They beat up Orange Cassidy and stuff like that. Next was Chris Statlander, who I really like Chris Statlander, and Nyla Rose, who I also really like, and they had an awful match.
Yeah, it's odd.
It was bad
because there were parts of this match that I thought, okay, that's decent.
Yes,
and then but the match as an overall package just didn't work.
No, it was a bit botchy. It was a bit slippy.
Was this the moment where we got the weird Vicky Guerrero scream of power thing?
Yeah. I tweeted out that she's is it not Mockingbird? Black Canary. She's Black Canary.
Yeah.
Her superpower is just screaming at Orange Cassidy.
I mean,
which I thought was funny.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
But yeah, this was a bad one.
I mean, yeah, this was a weird one because it should have been, on paper, this should have been a better match than it was. I don't know what, I don't know what quite didn't work.
It just didn't. Yeah. It was just one of those days where it just didn't go right for either. Like it happens.
There were a few little sloppy bits, right? And
I mean, it's not even necessarily sloppy. It's just stuff slipped, mistakes happen. It happens. Yeah. It's just one of those. It just wasn't a good match. It just didn't work for either. Statlander won, which is the right decision because she is next in line for a title shot.
I was going to say, which
awesome.
Does achieve something story-wise because she is next in line.
Yeah,
so
which is
it awesome. Still did something.
I like Indeed, it did. Following that, we had a Britt Baker promo, which that's all we need to say because Britt Baker is the best thing since Becky Lynch. She's phenomenal.
And it's weird, right? Because we didn't feel like that a little while ago. We felt a bit like...
When she was a babyface, it didn't quite work. Yeah. And then she turned heel, and she's been phenomenal ever since. It's an odd one putting her with Red Velvet. There is a bit of an inbuilt story, but they don't actually really get to why she attacked Britt Baker until Rampage, like just before Rampage sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's Britt Baker.
I mean,
you could have an hour of Britt Baker and it'd be fine.
As no disrespect to anyone at AEW, the Red Velvet Britt Baker thing almost does feel a little bit like they went, we need a match for Rampage, and we need a match for Baker because it's her hometown, all that stuff. But we don't want it to necessarily be the biggest match, as in we don't want it to be, they could have done Statlander straight away if they wanted, but they probably didn't want to. They probably didn't want to use that one on Rampage.
It also feels like they're just buying time until Ruby Soho actually turns up.
Yeah, true.
Who will probably turn up in the women's thingy battle royal at All Out, which will be dope because they need
a few more, right? They need a few more.
Yeah, because they've got a lot of people who could be fantastic.
Yeah.
But they're not there yet. They need someone to come in.
They need
and
a couple of proven ones to help the other ones, right?
Absolutely. They need a Ruby Soho. They need some iconics.
Because
that.
Because we'll talk more about Red Velvet later. But I actually like Red Velvet.
I do as well. She's not there yet, but she's on the way. She's got a great gimmick. I love her gimmick. Yeah. She should be paired with Private Party. That would be a great combination. But then that might be too. Well, no, because Bianca doesn't really team up. Regardless. Next, did anything happen in between?
I don't think
No, it doesn't look like it.
Wasn't this? So we had the Britt Baker promo.
We had the Britt Baker promo.
Red Velvet came out
and promoed.
Yeah.
Talked back. Then they had a bit of a scruffle, whatever. We then had the Impact Tag Team title match.
Yeah,
I really liked.
I did as well. I really liked
this might be my favorite match of the night because even though the first match was great, I feel like it was only as great as it was because of the surprise of Thingy being just popping out and doing his very mysterious stuff. True. Even though it was a good match, it was more you got caught off guard because this young dude just pops up out of nowhere and is incredible.
Do you know what I do like? Do you know what I do like about this Impact Tag Team title match, though? Is we spoke on the last episode where we kind of reintroduced ourselves about how we didn't know whether Impact were actually benefiting from this situation. Literally now within 2 episodes, it kind of feels like they are.
Yeah, they are getting a lot more important. But it also gave more importance to Evil Uno and Stu Grayson because it was them
who are great. Let's be clear.
The Goo Brothers, the Good Brothers. Go by the D there. This was a great match.
They should just be called the Goo Brothers.
Maybe if they had a Ghostbusters theme.
Oh God,
perhaps. Yeah. Oh no, that could be their. No, they could be the Boo Brothers. When it's Halloween.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. But yeah, this was a very good match. It did a lot for both teams. It showed how good the Dark Order actually are because you don't get to see that too often. And people forget that Evil Uno and Stu Grayson were a tag team before the Dark Order. They were the Super Smash Brothers, which obviously there were reasons they can't use that name on actual TV, but hey ho. This was a great match. I thought it did everyone the world of good. And it had some. It did have an element.
Do you know what I loved about it? Is it had this element of you genuinely didn't know if Uno and Grayson were going to win.
It did genuinely look like that they were going to win at some points. But it also had the added level of something Impact are doing very well at the minute is while they don't have the titles on their show, they're building up the next people that are going after those titles. So, there was already number 1 contenders there's a 4-way.
Yeah, that's true.
Which Dark Order could have slotted into, but they didn't in the end. The Good Brothers won in the end. And they just, I was going to say they used their history of being a tag team, but Evil Uno and Stu Grayson have actually been a tag team longer. So
yeah,
it was a very, very good match. I really enjoyed this match,
and also a nice balance of wrestlers in this match because they're different types of wrestlers. All 4 of these men.
Yeah. And I think Evil Uno is just showing people that he's actually phenomenal.
He's basically
Evil Uno is great.
Do you know who he reminds me of? If we look at like WWE, because I didn't know about Uno and Grayson before AEW. They're not a team I knew about.
Sure.
But Uno reminds me of Kevin Owens.
Sure.
Like just in the way that he,
he's got a lot of swagger and
yeah, and he isn't a small guy, but also he's bloody agile. He's really agile.
Yeah.
And then Grayson's just nuts. I feel like he's nuts.
Grayson is awesome. He's awesome. I'd love for him to get a singles run at some point because he's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. So, moving on, what else did we have?
We had another section that I really didn't care about, we had QT Marshall talking.
I mean,
where's Anthony Ogogo?
Yeah, that's
I
off.
like Anthony Ogogo. Where's he gone? I don't care about Aaron Solo and Nick
don't get me
Comorosa.
wrong. Don't get me wrong. And I get why you didn't care about this. However, this is one where it's like in the moment I didn't necessarily care, but I am also intrigued to see where this goes.
I am, but not because of QT Marshall. I don't like QT Marshall. He just feels like filler. He really feels like filler. He is just there to get punched in the face by the Big Show.
Yeah.
Or Paul White in the situation, because QT decided that they were going to beat up Tony Schiavone's son.
So it seems like maybe Paul White's going to get back in the ring for a few?
He's going to. He's definitely going to. I mean, we've already seen him in the ring gear in that photo.
Yeah, true. And he did actually say he would also be in the ring when he joined AEW.
Yep.
But do you know what? Do you know what the thing about? Let's just call him Show for a minute, because everybody knows him as Big Show.
He is.
The No BS T-shirt is really cool. Like that's just clever.
And his entrance music is great as well, because they got the same guy that sings his old Big Show theme to do this, and then it spins out. It's very cool.
The funny thing is, I always felt a bit sorry for Big Show in WWE towards the end, because it felt like he could still do more than they were letting him do.
It's a tricky one with Big Show, because he's his own worst enemy as well. He went through stages of being put in prominent positions, but then he got lazy, and it happened on multiple occasions, and we saw it. He got bigger and bigger, and then it just didn't.
When he's a bit slimmed down, he's great, right? Like when he's actually putting the effort in, which I think he does more now. Like, isn't he like an absolute beast now? I think I saw one picture at some point where
he's probably in the best shape he's been in since WCW.
Which is crazy, but when he's not a young guy anymore.
No, but when the big issue is when he was younger and he moved over, he had a bit of an ego.
I've heard that.
Because he used to do moonsaults and shit. Like, he used to be insane.
To be fair, he deserved the ego, but it didn't help.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't, because he got the position he got put in was because WCW was shit.
That's true.
WCW literally put the title on him in like his first match or some shit like that. And he was coming over where they had established stars that were all, Hulk Hogan and people like that.
And it took him
he got lazy.
And it took him a long time to build himself back up, right? Because
he got lazy. He put on a lot of weight. He just didn't care. He was like, I've got a lot of money now, sort of thing. But he doesn't seem like that anymore. He got over that. He got over his ego and stuff. So interesting. My dog is barking or something.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm interested.
Maybe he's barking because he can't wait to see the Big Show, aka Paul White, back in the ring.
Maybe. I really hope this is just like I don't know if I want to see Paul White back in the ring.
I do, to be honest, at least a couple of times, just to see.
I really don't think I do, because I think we've got enough older people that are doing their thing. I wouldn't mind him turning up and just knocking someone out, just hitting, like, straight punching him in the face. That's fine. Just come in and save it once in a while. Awesome. I don't need to see Big Show wrestle anymore. The same with Undertaker or Kane, stuff like that.
No, but I think it's one of those things where it's like, I get what you're saying, but I also have this feeling that with Big Show, with Paul White, he could be one of the ones that surprises people. Where it's like you think you don't want to see him anymore, and then maybe when he actually does get the opportunity, because in AEW, the thing is these wrestlers to a certain degree are allowed to do what they want, right? Whereas WWE has a very specific style, and they wanted Big Show to be a very specific thing, especially towards the end. Whereas actually, I do think we sometimes forget how good Big Show has been in the past because he's not been consistent enough with it. But that doesn't mean he can't do it again, right? The one that I don't want to see in the ring personally is who's been talking about it a little bit. And just because I genuinely don't know, it's not about him, it's about I don't know what he'd offer in terms of the roster overall. And that is Mark Henry. Mark Henry's been talking about kind of getting the itch to maybe get back in the ring. And it's like, but I don't know what Mark Henry offers.
I don't think we need either. I think we have Powerhouse Hobbs who can fill that Mark Henry stuff.
Yeah.
I think there are plenty of other big men that could do what Big Show thinks he can still do, maybe. But Big Show hasn't been interested in a very long time. I don't care about him getting back in the ring. Like I said, if he comes down and just knocks someone in the face for a bit.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong.
I don't want to see him wrestle.
Don't get me wrong. I'm with you. I just do think that it could be one of those cases.
I think there's other things he can do. I don't want to see him wrestle.
Okay, interesting.
I think that, again, it's a Matt Hardy thing. I don't want to see Matt Hardy wrestle anymore. I don't think he needs to. I think he's better suited to other things.
Yeah.
I don't know how good he is on commentary, Big Show, because I haven't watched any Dark Elevation, so I can't really speak to that. But there are other things he could be doing, and that's really what he should be doing now. Like,
yeah, but then if he wants to, right, and if they feel like he can offer something, then why not? Because we could be wrong, right? We could be wrong. Like, there's always that chance.
I would bet money that we're not.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, he walked down, and you can see his knees are not there.
Yeah,
I don't need to see Big Show wrestle. I don't need to see Paul White wrestle. Like I said, if he just came down and knocked a dude in the face, awesome. Don't need to see him wrestle. Moving on to our final match.
Yeah,
we had the fourth labor of Jericho, and labor is right because these are getting a bit long in the tooth now. He fought Wardlow. Was there? No, there wasn't a stipulation. It was just he fought Wardlow.
It was just
and this, I alluded to this last week.
Mm-hmm.
He should have lost this match.
Really, you think so?
Yeah, I thought the way that they made the situation where he eventually won the match, I thought the distraction was stupid and it doesn't fit any of the characters.
I agree with
a lot smarter than that. The referee is a lot smarter than that.
I agree with that. But I don't agree that he should have lost.
He got killed.
No. But
he got absolutely killed. He should have lost.
The reason I don't think he should have lost is because I don't think it actually achieves anything story-wise.
I think it does, though.
Really?
I think it does. Because Chris Jericho is potentially coming to the end of his run.
It seems like it, right?
Because he's doing the commentary on Rampage now.
We'll talk about his commentary later. We'll talk about his commentary.
But it kind of feels like, and like MJF even alluded to this. We've done this before. We did this with Cody. It would have been more interesting to me if this time the guy he's putting through these tasks doesn't actually make it to the end, because it just kind of feels like the same thing again.
But maybe
it feels a bit.
But what if it is because MJF is the end for Jericho?
Then do it in another way. I think you do it in another way. I don't need to see this. It's the whole.
So you're saying it's more the way they're doing it rather than what they're trying to get to.
Yeah. It's the whole. Oh, they're doing war games again. Cool. We're doing this. Is this stipulation thing a thing we're going to get every year with MJF now? Like, do we have to go through stipulations for him to have a match?
No, that's going to change.
I don't
eventually.
think. It absolutely is. But it does. Even though these are interesting and they have been a bit diminishing returns.
I was going to say with the Jericho thing, I think it works because what they've done with it overall.
I don't think it works because was there ever any doubt that he was going to win these? The Cody ones were you're being punished.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And I think it played out better. With these Jericho ones, it was never really. I've never felt like he was going to lose.
Really?
It's always been obvious that he was going to win these. Sean Spears doesn't get to win matches.
Yeah, true.
I not one of these matches did I think he was going to lose, and I think that's the detriment to what they're currently doing.
The Nick Gage one.
I thought that was the most interesting one, but yeah, you could see where the match was going as you were watching the match.
Okay.
It's one of these ideas that, well, those two ideas
in isolation they're okay, right?
Yeah. Well, the idea of them is better than what actually happened. Even though the match between
I think
Nick Gage and Jericho was actually
good. The Hoovy one was the only one that was kind of not.
I think these last two have been pretty meh.
Okay.
Like the match itself was fine, but like he got killed by Wardlow.
Yeah,
he got killed. It shouldn't matter that he can get up and elbow someone in the face.
But
he
got killed. That's wrestling. That is wrestling.
Sure, but it's stupid.
But that's never going to change about wrestling.
No, for sure. But it was dumb.
Yeah,
it doesn't fit. Like
it doesn't fit the context of.
It doesn't fit the context.
On, right?
It didn't fit MJF's character because MJF is smarter than that. At one point, the commentators was like, "Oh yeah, look at MJF. He wants to punish him."
I know what you're saying. Why? You could do that same thing in a different way.
I really think he should have lost because the final match isn't even happening on pay-per-view. It's happening on Dynamite.
Yeah, but weird, I feel like
which makes me think that match isn't going to happen the way it should, and then it's going to happen on.
I feel like there is a reason for it though. Like this Jericho thing, it's one of those things where I think when this story finishes, we might feel differently than we do in the moment. Because
maybe, yeah.
If this is what leads to Jericho's retirement, and I don't know if it will do, but then it's kind of like, okay, let him do what he wanted to do, because it does sound like most of this was actually his idea.
Yeah, but you've got to rein it in at some point. You can't just keep being like, let them do what they want to do, sort of thing.
No.
Like at the minute, I don't think. Again, it's one of those where as an idea, it's awesome, but in execution, so far after Shawn Spears, fairly obvious that Spears was going to win. The Nick Gage match was the really interesting one because it was like, oh, he's going to die. Maybe he dies.
Like you genuinely didn't quite
Hoovie's
know,
match
right?
was.
Hoovie could have been good if it was a good match, but
Hoovie could have been good if it wasn't Hoovie, because Hoovie was not a good. He did not do well in that match.
No. Well, I looked it up, and Hoovie hasn't wrestled since 2018, and even that I believe was a one-off match. So,
sure.
So he clearly just wasn't ready to do what needed to be done.
Yeah. And again, it was good in idea. It's one of those dream idea things that was great. And then I think, again, I honestly just think it would be more interesting if they did the Shawn Michaels thing and he wants to face MJF so bad, but he falls at that final hurdle. And then he gets desperate and he has to do something.
Another way to get to it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that'd be more interesting.
I know what you're saying. So you're saying that they shouldn't necessarily have not got to that. They should have just got to it in a different 100%. Way.
Because I still want to watch MJF versus Jericho. I think that's going to be an awesome match. But the way they've gone about it is just too obvious.
Yeah,
it's too clear. From the moment they're like, "Oh yeah, you're going to do some fight. You got to do 4 labors to get to MJF." It's like, what?
If you have him lose in the last one, it's a surprise, right? Because nobody's expecting. When you get to the last one, no one's expecting him to lose.
Yeah, because if they do this again, it's just going to be like, well, he's just going to go through the 5 whatevers.
Yeah, definitely.
And like I said, MJF alluded to it. He turned like the only other way I wanted this to happen, and I thought it might, but it didn't, which would have also been interesting, is Wardlow turned on MJF.
Yeah.
Because there was that snide, oh yeah, like you got it done against Cody the last time. So it's like you've acknowledged that you've done this before, but you're going to go down the exact same route and have the same thing happen. You either have Wardlow destroy him, or you have Wardlow turn, which I think would both be more interesting because I feel like Wardlow's being wasted a bit at the moment.
Yeah, but maybe they're waiting for the right time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like he is going to turn on MJF at some point.
Yeah,
I hope, because there is definitely more to him. He could be awesome. He could be very awesome.
For sure.
Yeah, like it wasn't a bad match by any means. I think there were just things about it that were.
It's like you said,
wise, they were just a bit.
It's just a little bit telegraphed, right? And that's kind of probably the issue with it.
Yeah, it was too obvious.
It's not that it's not that on its own it was bad. It's that in the context of what was happening.
Absolutely, yeah.
There were a couple of mistakes.
And I just really didn't like the way that the ending came about. It was like MJF got caught trying to hand in the ring. It's like, why would he slide in the ring? That's stupid.
Yeah.
It was dumb. The whole thing was dumb because he could see the referee. He could see where Wardlow was. He could see the whole situation, but he still slid in front of the referee. It's like,
right. So is that the end of Dynamite?
That is the end of Dynamite. There was a bit of a kerfuffle afterwards. I'm saying kerfuffle a lot this episode.
So how do we feel about Dynamite overall?
I think this was a pretty average episode for them, and average isn't bad.
No, that's the thing. Average for them isn't bad.
This
right?
is exactly. This is average for them. This isn't average for Raw, where Raw average is shit.
Yeah,
or WWE
average for them is still better than most WWE stuff.
Yeah. I think this is.
If somebody said to me, which company's wrestling should I watch this week, it would still be AEW's.
I agree.
So yeah, but let's move on to, I think, the show that, to a certain degree, well, everybody's clearly waiting for the next episode of Rampage.
Indeed.
But people were looking forward to this first one, especially after that announcement of the Christian Cage Kenny Omega match for the Impact title.
Yeah, and jump straight in there.
Which opened it. Yeah, opened the show.
Was the first match, and it was a very good match.
Yeah, I think this match was great. I think this match was great.
They did a fantastic job. Yeah, both wrestlers.
There was some really good ring psychology in this match. There was
a lot of good counters and smart, moving around stuff.
And they told a story throughout the match as well.
So my biggest problem is, why are all of the referees so stupid?
Again, is that not just a wrestling thing?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Why are wrestling referees just so dumb? Why is such a cliche and it's so boring? It's like, hey,
it is.
I'm over here.
But how else do you do it?
You could be smarter. You can have a referee be like, no, I've seen this 1,000 times. Fuck off.
No, but what if they still need that in the match?
Be smarter.
Yeah,
just be smarter.
But
there are ways around it. You've seen it a bunch of times where a wrestler tries to distract the referee. It hasn't worked. And then the referee gets distracted by the thing that didn't work. And then they go off and do whatever. They do something else instead.
True, but then that's still also a cliche. Because you've still seen that thing 1,000 times as well.
You don't see it as often.
That's true.
With AEW, you're seeing it every week.
True.
In probably a couple of times a show. So it is getting a bit frustrating.
However, this distraction played a really crucial role in the outcome of the match.
Yeah, this is kind of what I mean in that it backfired. But
I like that it backfired for once, because it doesn't always. So that was a difference. For sure.
I mean, half the time it backfires, but the only thing that bothered me about it is it's cool. Christian just cannot beat Kenny Omega. Then he has to have that thing.
I don't think that.
I do.
See,
I do. In my mind, this means that there is now no chance that he wins the AEW title, which was pretty clear anyway.
I'll come to the reason that I don't necessarily agree. I think overall you're correct. Like, he's not going to win the AEW title.
I'd be very shocked if he did.
However, I think storyline-wise, what they did here and the way the match ended is much more interesting. And the reason I think that is because Christian Cage is actually defending the Impact title in 6 days. I wonder whether Kenny's going to screw him, and it's going to play into...
He's not going to lose to Brian Myers.
Do you not think so?
No, I don't think so. I don't think Brian Myers is going to win that title.
Yeah.
So to be clear, Christian Cage won the Impact title.
Yes, Christian Cage
is the correct
won.
decision.
It is the correct decision. He should have won. And
also, don't get me wrong. I don't have a problem with the way it ended. I thought it was clever. Yeah. It just kind of telegraphs to me that they don't think Christian Cage, or it telegraphs to me that Christian Cage isn't going to be able to beat Kenny Omega.
I get that it does telegraph the other match. I just think it's interesting story-wise because you can now do that thing where Christian can say, Christian actually said it in an interview just after this match. He said, I can beat you now. I'm in your head.
But then the retort could be, is you can't beat me without a weapon. Or you can't beat
me
without cheating.
It could be, but that's a nice new thing for Kenny, right? Because he's not been on that side of it.
Sure.
Recently, anyway.
Sure. I mean, it doesn't change my mind that there's no way Christian's winning the AEW title.
No, but I think we knew that anyway, so I don't think it matters.
100%. It just doubles that. But then if they did this in a way without the steel chair, where he was then it would smarter than Kenny.
Yeah,
exactly. It builds that a bit more.
That's
and
true.
Then that's where the Brian Myers stuff comes in, which could make it more interesting. Is that he's got a match a bit before that as well. And Brian Myers is not a bad wrestler by any stretch.
I still think there's something that's going to happen in that Brian Myers match. Personally,
I don't know.
I feel like maybe Kenny's going to get involved in some way. Because I just wonder whether Impact might.
I think it would be silly, especially when Impact don't really have anyone on roster that he could be their Chris Jericho currently.
Yeah.
He could be their name that's attracting people.
And actually, to them, he's probably more valuable than that because of his previous connection to the company.
Well, yeah, because you don't have Kenny Omegas, you don't have Moxleys, you don't have people like that around in Impact. They've got a fantastic roster.
However, if he gets screwed out of the belt, that doesn't mean he needs to necessarily not ever be on Impact again.
I would be he's going to be on Impact. He's definitely going to be on Impact. I just don't see him losing the Impact titles. Yeah. And I also envision.
So, what do you think the point is of him having that defense that quick?
That's just the way the cookie crumbles. That's just where this sort of stuff's going to happen.
I feel like usually when that happens, though, it's because there's a reason for it happening.
I think it's just a consequence of all these brands working together. And having their titles cross promote, it's one of those things you've got to deal with. If you're a champion somewhere, you have to defend when you have to defend.
No, of course. But what I mean is,
I don't know if I don't think there's anything storyline to it. I think it is just because the Good Brothers are the exact same. They've got to defend their titles very soon as well. Yeah. So I don't know that it's necessarily a story thing, and it doesn't need to be. It can literally just be.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Happening. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out because you could be right, but I also think it could be a story thing. There's a way I think they can do.
I think they could, put story stuff into it. Yeah. But I think Impact would be very, very silly to take the titles off of Christian.
True, but they'll benefit from having Omega on that show in some way, right? Even if he runs in, if he tries to get involved. Something like that.
Yeah, but that's not something you can advertise.
No, of course. But if people hear about it,
in hindsight maybe, but not on as it's happening sort of thing.
Yeah, true.
But I don't know. We've had Kenny Omega on Impact. I honestly think having Christian on Impact for the first time in however long it's been is a bigger draw, is more interesting because Kenny's been there. He's done that.
Yeah.
So maybe
true.
It could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised if Kenny does interfere or try to. But I think Impact would be stupid to not have Christian as their.
I wonder,
especially after the WWE shit, because they could just be like, well, that's what they did with Randy Orton.
Yeah,
true. Next defense, which was silly. But no, very good match.
Yeah,
very good match.
It was.
It's going to be some interesting fallout.
For Rampage, I think this was match of the night.
Easily, yeah.
Because I think the main event was cool, but we'll get to it a bit later. There were a couple of issues with it.
We will get there. Next, however, was there anybody talking?
We had the interview with Christian.
Yeah, there was a bit of an interview. That was
also had. Was this where we had the advert for next week? Because I want to talk about that.
Possibly. Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe.
So we had an advert for next week's Rampage that I think was very telling. Like, at this point, they're literally giving it away, right?
I hope there's a swerve.
They're literally giving it away for free, right? At this point.
So I said this last week.
Like, so
we know Punk and Bryan are coming. It's far too obvious. There's something else. There has to be. I feel like it's far too obvious that they don't have something else up their sleeve.
Do you know when I saw the lightning on the way that they had the kind of lightning and stuff on this advert?
Right.
I was like, does that? And I was trying to wrap my brain of like, who is connected to lightning in terms of wrestling? I was like, I just could not come up with a name. But I'm starting to feel a bit like you, where maybe there is something else. Like maybe there is something else as well. But the only things that can be bigger are things that seem almost impossible, right?
I don't necessarily think it's something bigger.
But it has to be, because otherwise they're going to be crucified.
No, it doesn't. Because I'm not suggesting Punk doesn't show up. I'm suggesting
there
there's
might be something else as well.
Yeah. So like I said, we know Punk and Bryan have most likely signed and they're most likely going to debut very soon.
Mm-hmm.
But I do wonder if they're teasing this so hard and it's sleight of hand and there's something else. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean bigger, but it just could mean that something else happens as well.
Yeah. But
which
it
I
has
wouldn't
to
be
be as well as what. That's the problem, right? It has to be as well. If it's instead of, they're going to be crucified.
Not necessarily.
Not
necessarily. It depends what that other thing is. Like if they swap it and it turns out it's actually Bryan that's showing up in Chicago, I don't think people will be mad about that.
I think they would.
I think they would.
I
mean, to be fair, you're going to be mad either way because people hate CM Punk. So either way, people are
Chicago people don't know, right?
There's people everywhere that hate CM Punk. Chicago is just the least of his worries.
I don't know how much. I don't know. We've discussed this before, but I don't know how much people really hate CM Punk and how much people actually just got a bit fed up with hearing.
There are people that hate CM Punk.
Yeah, but I don't know how big that group of people is.
There's a lot of people that hate CM Punk.
Really?
They're very vocal. It's just like anyone famous. There are a lot of people that hate him and they're vocal. It is what it is. Not everybody.
But then you get vocal minorities. That's,
sure.
It's I don't know. But my point is, this advert, they played very heavily into the best in the world thing on this advert.
Mm-hmm.
They played very heavily into the most anticipated television event of the year, which means there's no way that something big doesn't happen.
I really want Daniel Bryan to come in and have the best in the world gimmick and just flip it on his head. I think it'd be funny.
I think it would be funny, but I think it would be incredibly stupid at the same time.
I wouldn't, because Punk is coming down the line.
But what if he isn't? What if they do it and he isn't? That's dumb. We'll see. Dumb, right?
You can be very clever with this. You can be very clever with this. Because if someone is disappointed that CM Punk doesn't turn up, but Daniel Bryan does, is that really a disappointment?
I think so.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I would take either or. If you could only pick one, either one works. But it sounds like both are coming.
I just think it's an incredibly stupid thing to tease it as heavily as you have. Literally pretty much confirm it without confirming it.
In fairness, it could be either one.
Yeah.
It could be either one. Because they've both called themselves the best in the world.
It could be, but you don't.
You
do not do this episode in Chicago without reason.
I mean, they were in Chicago anyway.
Not for this episode, they weren't.
No. But in that time period, they're in Chicago anyway. All Out's in Chicago, Dynamite's in Chicago.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, next week, yeah.
No, I know. But
Rampage is in Chicago.
Yeah.
But on Wednesday,
because
on Wednesday they're in Houston next week.
Yeah. Then Friday they're in Chicago. Wednesday they're in Chicago. Saturday they're in Chicago.
Yeah.
They're in Chicago for that stretch.
So that's true.
So it makes sense.
That's true, but they added that extra Chicago show.
Sure. because
and
like they're not going to have it somewhere else when they're already.
They could have they could have had. But my point is, they could have had next week's Rampage be in Houston, the same as Dynamite.
Yeah, no. They absolutely could have. I don't doubt that CM Punk is coming.
Yeah,
but
I'm not saying you do. I'm not saying you do.
I just think if this isn't CM Punk, I think there are other ways they could do it because
I'm not
even though they've hinted, fans have been the one that have taken the CM Punk and they're just letting go. It could be Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
But
Bryan
Danielson,
so here's my question for you then.
Mm.
Do you not at least think there is an element of, if you have just let them go, and it, because I agree with you, Punk's definitely coming, right? Of course he is. However, because I don't think Tony Khan, Tony Khan's a very clever man. I do not think he's the type of person to not kind of shut it down if he knows for a fact it's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the fact that he himself has said everyone knows what to expect from next week's show, and he expects the anticipation to build, he could have shut it down by now if that wasn't what's happening. And it's dumb to play up to it if that's not what is happening next week.
But what are they playing up to?
They know what they're playing up to.
Sure. They know, and people think they know, but they're not specifically outright playing up to one thing or another. They're playing up to
I think they are, though, because
no, hold on.
Go on.
You think they are. That's where this is. You think they are. Fans think they are.
But what if they are?
What if they are? If they are, they are. But we don't know. We think. You think it's going one way or another. But we don't know until it actually happens.
No, I get that.
So,
but
we have this conversation.
But they know what people think.
No, you think they know what people think.
No, but they do. They do.
Sure. Okay, sure. But that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is they haven't put anything that hints towards CM Punk that couldn't hint towards Daniel Bryan.
I don't agree.
The only tie is Chicago. But Chicago also loves Daniel Bryan. Chicago is a big wrestling company.
But they're not dumb about that. They know.
No. But
they do know
like I said,
that means.
It is most likely CM Punk.
Yeah.
I think it's weird that he'd come out on Rampage instead of All Out unless they've got a match already scheduled that they can do that he can jump into.
Well, it's going to be Darby, right? It's going to be Darby.
Potentially, and it could be that soon because he has been doing training and stuff like that. We know that.
And it sounds like he's been very good. Which
it's CM Punk, of course he has.
Yeah.
But my point is, fans have heard the CM Punk news,
and
they assume because it's Chicago, that's definitely going to be CM Punk.
No, of course they do.
It might not be.
I agree with that.
So we're kind of counting our chickens before they've hatched here.
I don't disagree.
It is most likely. Those eggs are probably going to hatch and there's probably going to be chickens inside of them.
I don't disagree, yeah. I agree with that. I agree with fans are running with it. But what I don't agree with is that, and I could be wrong, but I feel like what you're putting across is that they're playing up to something, not realizing what they know.
No.
They know what they.
No. I'm saying no.
Right.
I'm saying they're playing up to something, but they haven't specified which one it is.
Yeah, true.
The fans have taken it. They have made it. CM Punk was coming when it could be Daniel Bryan.
True,
Daniel Bryan could be. It's not likely to be.
But they would also know that the fans were going to do that. Like that is something they would know.
Sure, that's why I think there's something else.
Okay, interesting.
That's why I think. That's why I think they've let the CM Punk thing go because CM Punk is probably going to turn up. But I think there could be something else as well.
I guess my question is. If CM Punk doesn't turn up next week on Rampage, which is where he should turn up at this point because of how they've dealt with it, if he doesn't turn up next week and then it is just something else, do you think that's a mistake?
No, because I don't think it'll just be something else.
Okay, interesting.
It's either going to be Punk and something else or it'll be Daniel Bryan.
Okay.
Because I think...
And you
Imagine, right?
Go on.
Imagine You think CM Punk should turn up as a face?
Yeah.
What's the easiest way to turn Daniel Bryan heel? Have him turn up when everybody thinks it's going to be CM Punk.
True.
Wouldn't that be fucking awesome? True. Just have him come out and be like, I am the best in the world.
I'm not disagreeing.
That would be awesome.
I do think
because we know Punk's coming. It's beyond doubt at this point.
No, I get that. But I do think there's an element of it could go horribly wrong if you don't just give the people what they're expecting at this point.
Yeah, but isn't that a lot of the beauty of good booking? Is you don't quite give them what they want.
True, but then...
They want CM Punk. They want Daniel Bryan.
Don't you think they are kind of... Don't you think that is kind of playing it on a knife edge a little bit? Like, do you think they're going to...
You shouldn't always just give people what they want because it gets boring.
But do you think that in this case, they're going to want to take that risk?
Yeah, of course. Why not? I don't think it's a risk if you're like, oh, CM Punk might be coming, and then have Daniel Bryan slide in instead, because I think there's this weird thing where they're valuing CM Punk more than Daniel Bryan, when I actually think it's the other way around a bit more.
Really? I don't.
I think CM Punk is bigger in name value.
Okay.
Because of, all the outside stuff, but he's been away for 7 years.
True.
And yeah, sure. Christian has come back and he's fantastic.
Punk and also we have heard, there has been a report actually, I believe today, about how good Punk has been.
Sure, but that's redundant in my point. My point is Daniel Bryan has been around for the last 7 years in one form or the other.
Yeah.
And we know how good he is.
They add things in different ways though, right?
Yeah, sure. But I honestly think they are pretty level. I think they're both monumental gets.
Yeah, I don't think one is any better than the other.
No.
I think that the thing that makes Punk potentially better...
It's just the name value.
Is the name value thing.
Yeah. Because he's got a bit more outside of wrestling than Daniel Bryan does. Because he's done movies, he's and stuff like that.
And also he does have that fact of he is the one wrestler that everyone's waiting for.
Just to be clear, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I fully expect that CM Punk's going to turn up.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be upset if Daniel Bryan shithouses them and is the one that turns up and does this whole gimmick that he's the best in the world and he's just going to kill people again.
I know that you wouldn't be upset. I know that you wouldn't be upset.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what you do.
I feel like a lot of other people would.
It doesn't matter what you do. You're going to annoy people.
I don't think so.
No. You are going to annoy people. It doesn't matter what you do.
What? Even if it's Punk, you think that's going to annoy people?
I go back to my previous statement. People hate CM Punk.
They do, but do you not think that's just a minority? Whereas...
Yeah, but I'm not saying you're going to piss off a lot of people.
Whereas... No, but
it doesn't matter in any walk of life. It doesn't matter what you do. Some people aren't going to like it.
Of course. But
you can't please everybody. It doesn't matter.
You don't want to piss off the majority, right? And I feel like the Daniel Bryan situation could piss off the majority.
Okay. If you like CM Punk, there's a very, 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 very high chance you also like Daniel Bryan.
No, of course. But
I don't think it would piss enough people off.
Really? You don't?
No.
Ah, interesting.
It's Daniel Bryan.
I feel like that.
So Daniel Bryan was the biggest babyface since Steve Austin.
No, I get that.
I don't know why.
I've got this weird thing in my head that I feel like if it is Bryan next week, and I don't think it is, to be clear, if it is Bryan next week, I feel like they will start to boo. If it's
Yes, exactly. That's the point.
But
that's my point. That would be sick.
No, but what if they don't want Bryan to be heel? What if they're trying to do Bryan?
You wouldn't put Daniel Bryan in that situation if you didn't want him to be heel.
No, but that's what I'm saying. So
no. But you wouldn't put him in that situation unless you wanted him to get booed. So you put him in that situation to be a heel
if they want him to be a heel.
Yeah.
So you don't think there's a chance where they could do it and just fuck up because they want him to be face? And
they're not that stupid.
Are they not?
Have they been?
No, but does that mean they can't be?
Sure. But as I've told you a million times, I'm an evidence person. I go based off of what I've seen and what's been put in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
Have they fucked that up?
No, I agree. To be
you go off a track record.
I don't actually think we disagree.
No. We're just playing devil's advocate, which is fun. We like playing devil's advocate.
It's
I fully expect that CM Punk will turn up.
Yeah,
if he doesn't, I think they've got a massive opportunity to make Daniel Bryan the biggest fucking heel in the universe.
If they want to do Daniel Bryan as a heel, it makes a ton of sense to put Daniel Bryan in that spot.
Or if like
Totally
Punk
agree.
does turn up and then Daniel Bryan kills him.
Imagine if it was both. Imagine if they somehow do both at the same time.
Honestly, I think they're pushing the CM Punk stuff. And to be clear, it is CM Punk stuff. I know, just play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I think they're pushing it so hard because there is something else. We've heard that Daniel Bryan is maybe September, maybe a bit further down the line. If that's true, I really, I really think they're pushing the CM Punk stuff so hard because that's not the final swerve.
And it's not going to be Brock Lesnar, right? But can you imagine the reaction?
How do we know it's not going to be Brock Lesnar?
Can you?
Tony Khan has enough money.
Well, no, but this is what I was going to say. Can you imagine just in some height? We like to be hypothetical here, people. Sometimes we just like to fantasy book things.
It's fun.
Can you imagine what would happen if Punk comes out and Punk is a face and then Lesnar literally jumps the guardrail and destroys him, like, immediately?
Or CM Punk is the mouthpiece for Brock Lesnar.
Jesus Christ, don't do that. Don't do that.
Because one of the things WWE missed, I think a Paul Heyman faction would have been fun as hell.
Yeah.
Put Punk and put them together. I think that would be fun.
Who do you think? Let's do a little bit of fantasy booking for a second.
Quickly.
Because we've only got 2 more Rampage matches
there are
to talk about.
3 matches. So,
who do you think in Tony Khan's ideal world? Because we know that Punk is one of the wrestlers that he's always said, if he can get Punk, he'll do whatever he can to get him. Right? He's basically said that Punk is in his dream list.
Yep.
Do you think that there are any others
100%
in an ideal world where he goes, yeah, if I can get these people, I'm getting them?
Yep. And I know one the Bucks want, and I hope they never get it.
Go on, who is it?
They want Hulk Hogan.
What?
They've wanted Hulk Hogan for a very long time. They wanted him in Bullet Club.
But why?
I don't know. I don't care. I hate Hulk Hogan. I think everybody should hate Hulk Hogan. He's a horrible human being. He offers nothing anymore.
Yeah, man.
Screw him.
Man.
Do you know what would actually be cool?
Yeah.
Hall and Nash.
Ooh.
Just for a turn up. They don't have to be
do
there.
Anything, right?
Yeah. I don't want them there on a regular basis. Unless they're going to train and impart knowledge.
Do you think that there's
Which
anybody...
Kevin Nash is fantastic.
So here's my question more so. Is Tony Khan has a lot of money, right? Like, we know he has a lot of money. Because this is why I brought up to you privately before. Do you think that there's any possible way that he could somehow get Brock Lesnar to do weekly shows?
No.
And I know you said no. But the reason that I wondered whether it was a possibility with AEW is because they only do TV. And also I feel like Tony Khan would give Lesnar private travel.
No way.
You don't think so?
You could give him everything he wants. But I don't think Brock Lesnar works on a weekly basis anymore. I think the
Even
way
if it's
he
one
is,
day a week?
I don't think he does. I also don't think he was. Because I was listening to a Nick Aldis interview. And he said one of the things that's missing from pro wrestling is the prize fight thing.
Yeah.
Which is what they're doing
Brock
with
Lesnar, right?
Exactly. That's what they're doing with the NWA title. Having someone like Brock Lesnar being the only person that should be doing this, because he's the only one that makes sense.
But then fans also hate it, which is what I don't get.
Which goes back to my previous point: is you're never going to please everybody. You're never going to please everybody. A lot of the reason people didn't like Brock Lesnar's run is because
they liked it to start with, right? Then they started.
It potentially went too long. 2, it was the same people. It was Roman Reigns, it was Strowman, it was Seth Rollins. It was the same people going after it.
Yeah.
And they've just lost. So it wasn't really building to anything except we were coming back to those people.
And also it was almost too regular, right? Like he needed a bit more of a break in between.
I'm not sure that Brock Lesnar wins a title with AEW. He could be a prize fight of himself.
Oh, of course. Yeah,
He could be like the Undertaker.
However,
thing.
to be
It's
very
like
clear,
step up and beat Brock Lesnar.
I don't think Brock Lesnar is going to AEW.
No, I don't think so.
I think it would require a ridiculous amount of money to get him there. And
I think he could.
They could. They
honestly think he could.
They could conceivably afford him. I just don't think it would happen.
It might be more likely than WWE at this point.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it seems like there's a bit of a bridge that's been burnt there because he didn't want to show up for SummerSlam.
Yeah, apparently he's biding his time to negotiate his best money, right?
Yeah. And he doesn't need money, so he doesn't really... He's like, what?
He's doing what he wants to do, right?
Wait time. Yeah, he does what Brock Lesnar does. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting situation.
But yeah,
Match 2.
This is what I was gonna go on to is like one wrestler that he did get who's doing quite well is Miro. Let's talk about Miro because this match was interesting.
This match was beautiful.
Yeah,
honestly,
this is the one that I love. What they did, they told a story in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm honestly a bit torn as to whether this was actually the best match, not in being the match itself, but like the angle and what actually happened, how it fed in. Because Miro is just fantastic in every way, shape, and form currently. WWE, you're dumb.
Yeah,
this could have been a megastar for you, and you're stupid. Did anybody really think Fuego was going to win?
No, but they gave you a feeling that he might.
But did you win? Did you think he might have won when he came out the gate and maybe could have snatched one?
Jericho said it, right? Jericho on commentary actually said there's no way this guy's going to win. Yeah. And then he says at the end of the match, but he made a believer out of me for a minute.
Absolutely, absolutely. They did this fantastically.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have a relationship of any kind with Fuego, so the Sammy Guevara bit afterwards was like, okay.
Yeah, because I agree because I haven't. Yeah, I don't
watch that. Dark or Dark Elevation. Cool. But you picked up on something there I actually want to talk about, and that's the commentators, because Mark Henry is terrible at it.
This is what I was going to say.
I don't like Mark Henry as a commentator.
I don't like Mark Henry.
They
also don't need the 4. Do you know what I would do for Rampage if it was me?
Jericho Taz.
Yeah.
Taz is
still great. He always has been.
Let's be honest. If we were in charge, Jim Ross would be retired and brought out in special situations, which is where he should be used.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Ross should only be used in special situations. In match, he actually gives a shit about. Do you know because when he doesn't care, you can tell.
Not in a horrible way, but do you know who I think could replace Jim Ross if they did it somehow? Not even Taz, but they could do Taz. But the other option is someone that I actually like and I do always enjoy when he goes and sits over by the commentary table is Don Callis.
No.
I like Callis.
I don't like Don Callis.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's one of those where we've just seen too much of him and he's not good enough at what he does. I think he is just too annoying.
But isn't that kind of the point?
No, not in a good way. I can differentiate when something's annoying to the benefit of a character and this is just straight up annoying. I'm quite fed up of Don Callis.
Do you think that is just because it's too often?
I think it is, and I think it is because it's one of those. Kenny Omega doesn't need a manager. It's weird.
It's not because he's not good at what he does. It's because he does it too often. Really.
No, and he's just ramped up being... He's gone from being smart and cunning and canny like he was at the beginning to just straight up being annoying and stupid at this point.
Yeah, true.
Let the Elite be stupid because they're fun at doing that. They can be really funny. Like when Kenny Omega told them to get this mic away from me when he was the one that was holding the microphone.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's funny. Or where he was questioning if they were singing along to Jungle Boy's theme or they were saying no. Oh.
Yeah, I know. That was cool.
Funny. Let them be stupid. Let Callis be smart. But they've kind of lost that. Callis is quite stupid and annoying now, which is a shame because before when he was like, yeah, I'm making all this happen. I'm the evil, I'm the invisible hand and shit like that. That was interesting. That was cool.
Paul Heyman, right?
Yeah, but it's just nowhere near as good a talker because who is? Yeah. But now he's kind of lost that interest in.
That's interesting.
Putting all these plans in place, kind of. He is just an annoying character.
I do actually see where you're coming from, and I don't necessarily disagree.
And
go on,
Taz. Why don't you have Taz on commentary? He's right there.
Yeah, why is he not on commentary?
Leave Team Taz alone. We don't need Team Taz. Let them be something else.
I feel like that is ending soon. I think
it is, but not with like get rid of the FTW title. That's nothing. That's a toy at this point. Like that's not even a title. Like, come on, who cares? Like, Ricky Starks doesn't even give a shit about it. It's weird.
It's like the $1 million belt, right?
Yeah, except that's got some prestige behind it. This literally has nothing behind it, really. Who cares that Ricky Starks beat for it? It's weird.
But yes, I really
like
Taz.
Commentary.
Going back to commentary, Mark Henry, I don't like.
Mark Henry.
Also,
he threw even right at the beginning. He threw all of the timing off.
Yeah, I know. He did. However,
no, sorry, that was Jericho.
Was it?
That was Jericho at first. He got really excited, came out of the gate and started talking. And then the graphic for the whatever match they were talking about was on the screen. And he just didn't say anything. And then by the time he started talking,
a split second,
the next
right?
graphic was up and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I do think Henry put it further behind because he kind of hesitated.
Yeah, he's quite a slow talker.
However,
I think he's a better interviewer.
What I would say is for now, I will give Henry the little benefit of the doubt.
Sure,
because it was the first time.
Yeah,
sometimes it does take a minute to adjust.
It does.
And a 4-man thing is hard, right?
4-man thing is stupid. A 3-man thing is stupid. It should be 2 people.
Yeah. 3 men works if it's the right 3 men. But it doesn't.
I don't get the obsession with 3-man booths. It's dumb. Have 2 men and then have a guest every now and again. Because that makes sense. And you don't have people talking to, AEW do it quite a lot where they've got someone else sat at the desk as well. And then that's 5 men. Yeah. If they do that on Rampage.
True.
Too much.
True.
Reel it in.
2 men. How do you feel now we're talking about commentary? How do you feel about Jericho?
I like Jericho.
I really like Jericho.
I think that's where he's
However, what I would say is there were times in this episode of Rampage where I was like, shit, he's too excited that it's actually harming him because he's like.
I think a lot of the problem there was there are 4 people there.
Yeah.
I think that is the crux of the issue. You've got Mark Henry, who is quite monotone.
Yeah.
He hasn't found that, he doesn't have that cadence.
Jericho felt a little bit like he was trying to be the Jerry the King Lawler or do you know what I mean? Someone of that ilk on commentary where it's like he's like the oh my god kind of moments.
If I was AEW,
things like that,
I would throw a lot of money at Mauro Ranallo. Because I don't know if he's finished with wrestling completely. I know he went off. He's doing that UFC again. I think it was.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way he'll ever be in WWE again.
No. And I mean, the perfect duo was always Paul Heyman and Jim Ross. They were the perfect.
Do you know
duo.
who I'd quite like to see for some reason? I don't know why, but I'd quite like to see if they could somehow make it happen. A team of Nigel McGuinness and Taz. And I don't know why. I don't know why. I feel like that could work.
I think it could, but they both tend to be a bit heely.
Yeah, but I feel like McGuinness could do face, right?
Well, he does. I think the problem there is they're both wrestlers. I think you want more of a balance.
Want one person who isn't.
You want an actual commentator.
Yeah.
You want a Tony Schiavone. You want a Jim Ross, or not literally Jim Ross.
I like Tony. Tony does well.
Honestly, I think the perfect pairing would be Mauro and Taz.
Okay.
I think they'd be fantastic. I think
I do.
Nigel McGuinness is great. I'd love to see him pop up somewhere again.
There will be some commentary adjustments in AEW just because they're training a lot of people to do commentary, and there's no way they're all going to do it all the time. So I think that what we're talking about with JR probably will happen eventually.
Yeah, I fully expect JR is going to fade away.
Where he will be for the main events. He will be for the biggest matches.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it.
Like, he will be your Moxley Omegas. He will be your CM Punk versus whoever the hell's. Yeah. He will be there for the main events. I can't
wait to see who kind of is the one that goes, oh my God, it's CM Punk, when he comes out. Like, I feel like if it's on Rampage,
it's going
to be Jericho who says that.
I honestly hope no one. I hope it's just dead silent.
Can you imagine?
Because so many times that happens and it ruins the moment because they or even
you want
better,
to hear the crowd, right? You want to hear
even
the crowd.
no, not even necessarily. It's just it's so heavily scripted. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Even better, don't tell the commentary it's happening.
Yeah, have it be a real.
That
reaction.
worked really well with John Cena and Michael Cole. Michael Cole didn't actually know.
Yeah,
that John Cena was coming out, and he lost his shit. He pissed himself. What about Tom Phillips?
Tom Phillips, yeah, he's pretty
he got
good,
sacked, and he was good. I like Tom Phillips.
I like him.
I think he could be a good back counter.
I agree.
Because I think you could get Tony Schiavone away from that and have him do all the interviews again, because I think that's where he's best.
However,
I love him on commentary, but I think
like
he's
Schiavone on commentary.
I do.
He is the best interviewer they have. That's the problem, right?
Exactly.
He is the best interviewer.
And like I said, I think Michael Cole needs to. Michael Cole? Not Michael Cole, Jim Ross.
Speaking of Tony Schiavone, there was quite a nice little joke about Tony Schiavone in the main event of Rampage. I don't know if you heard it, but on commentary, Jericho said something like, "I wonder how much it cost Tony Schiavone to hand out all these towels."
Oh yeah. Yes. So yeah, that was all the commentary stuff, because it's a new commentary team and it's 4 men, and I hope it doesn't stay 4 men. I think it's dumb.
I don't think it will.
Honestly, have it 3 men and have Mark Henry doing interviews until he's more comfortable speaking.
Yeah. Because he was good at that when he did the interview with Christian. That was cool.
I think he was better. I think the interview bit between Britt Baker and Red Velvet was the best he did on that night.
I agree, but I did like the Christian one, because what I liked about the Christian one was he was an interviewer who was also being human. Like, you could tell that he was happy for Christian.
Yeah, I think he lent into that side a bit too much, and it kind of threw off what they were trying to do, because there was a bit of a gap, like he was meant to say something else.
Yeah.
To Christian before he started talking, but it's the first time he's doing it. I think he's better at the interview stuff.
But let's talk about Britt Baker and Red Velvet.
The main event was okay.
The match itself was Red Velvet was decent.
It was decent,
but it's how it ended.
The ending was messy, and the Britt Baker injury, is quite a bit hampering how the match goes.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it's a real injury, right?
I'm not sure.
Either way,
I mean,
it's hampering it a bit.
I mean, if it is, hampering it makes sense. If it's not, then it's kind of a little bit silly.
Yeah, I think it is real. I don't think it is a kayfabe. I think it was actually a real thing. Might be wrong, but it did kind of hamper the match a bit, and it did slow it down quite a bit.
However, I think they did well given those circumstances.
I think they did. However, the ending was a complete and utter train wreck.
Yeah, because I have no idea who that even was.
Right. So the end of the match was fine. She switched sides, which I thought was stupid. I was like,
finally switched to her other arm.
I was like, you have 2 arms. Come on.
Yeah.
I thought that was obvious from where I was at.
So basically, Britt Baker retained, but what happened after the match is more important.
So what happened after was very confusing.
Statlander got in first, right?
So Statlander got in first because Britt was going to keep attacking Red Velvet, which confused me on the first part, because I was like, wait, Britt's the heel?
Yeah, Britt is the heel. Britt is still heel, right? No, she isn't, but a heel is never heel in their hometown.
Yeah, no. But heel. She wasn't a heel, and she hasn't been for a while. Because she went up against heel Nyla Rose. She went up against heel Red Velvet. Yeah, but then they flipped it at the end.
Oh yeah, true.
Really weird. Statlander comes in to try to help Red Velvet, who was a heel.
I think they did flip. I think they did flip Britt to a heel again. I think that's
right at the end there. That was it.
Yeah,
it was really weird, because she's not a heel. She's been face for a bit. She's been face since she won the title, really. And then they actually turned her. They put her against heel Nyla Rose, because Nyla Rose is not a face in any way, shape, or form. And then she went to Curb Stomp Red Velvet on the title.
Yeah.
And then, like we said, Chris Statlander comes in for the save, which, again,
sorry, I just remembered
really
an amazing piece of commentary that I have to just bring up. Somebody said, I think it might have been Jericho again, and he was like, "She's an alien." Like,
yes.
I just why? Why is he?
Chris Jericho is very good at everything he does.
But why is he playing into the fact that she is so say an alien when we all know she isn't?
Because that's what Chris Jericho does on commentary. He turns it up. He's great. I love him on commentary.
So
when it was just him and Tony, I thought that was incredible. I think that should be a team.
Because that just made me laugh.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
So Statlander came in for the win. Maybe she's heel now.
And then no disrespect.
And then someone turned up.
Yeah, no disrespect to this person.
They took like they had like a face mask on. They had like a ski mask on,
and they actually told us who it is. It's Jamie someone, but I have no idea.
Yeah, but
who
that's
this
the thing.
Is.
Either the commentary are fantastic actors, or they forgot as well.
Yeah,
because they all went. Is that? It's this person. They really played up. They either really played up, they didn't know who it was, or they genuinely didn't recognize her.
Yeah,
because I sure as shit didn't.
Yeah, I didn't.
No fucking clue who that is. But and neither did the crowd. The crowd were just like,
yeah. It felt like it was
so weird.
It felt like it was meant to be a big moment, and they thought it was going to be a big moment.
So when she came in with the mask on, I was like, oh, this is how they introduced Ruby Soho. Okay, no, it's just some blonde chick. I still don't know who it is. I still haven't got a fucking clue. Who is it?
It's Jamie someone.
Jamie Hayter.
Yeah, and I know that they said, so she's British, because Jericho said something about she came all the way from England.
Okay.
She's obviously been on AEW before, because they said they haven't seen her for about 2 years. So she's obviously been on it at some point.
So I'm looking at pictures of her. I don't remember seeing her.
Yeah, this is odd. It's odd.
Did she turn up? So she lost to Britt Baker. She was attacked by Brandy Rhodes. Sorry. She teamed up with Riho. She teamed up with Emi Sakura and Riho, and that was it.
Fair.
So why should we remember this person?
Why is this a big thing?
Really weird, really bizarre the way they did that, because it's not like it's someone of note. It's a young, she's not a prospect per se, but she is
someone that you need to make somebody of note. They're not someone of note yet,
she's
right?
Up and coming, and it's weird as well, because you could do that when it's like someone like a Raquel Gonzalez or an Omos, where it's like, holy shit, look at that person.
Yeah, for sure.
But this wasn't. This is a weird one.
Maybe they gave the fans too much credit. Maybe they thought the fans would remember who this is, and then
I don't believe that. I don't think that's the case, because she literally had like 2 matches and then disappeared.
Yeah.
So I don't. If that's what they thought, they fucked it big time.
Yeah.
Because her last appearance was on November 6th, 2019.
Yeah.
In a tag team match.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. It was messy.
Yeah.
It was messy.
Very, very.
However, overall, how did you feel about this first episode of Rampage?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was cool. I like the hour. I think an hour's worth of wrestling is very underrated, because you've got no time
get
for filler.
Wrestling, right?
Yeah, you've got no time for filler.
However,
you get little bits. What
I like is that they have an hour and they have Dynamite, because what it allows them to do, and what I think they're going to do based on this first show and based on how they're building up the second show of Rampage, I think they might use Rampage for the big moments.
What is placed smartly as well.
Yeah.
Because,
just after SmackDown, right?
Yes, which has immediately made WWE go, shit, we need to do something. So they put the IC title on Nakamura, for instance.
Yeah.
Which,
and John Cena decided to make CM Punk references as well. Which, did you see that
No, I saw the Shield reference.
Oh, so yeah, he
literally name drops.
So he did a like kiss, and he basically said he was going to leave over the barricade with the title. So yeah, you know, he's all of a sudden WWE are marketing AEW for them.
Yeah, I'm 90% sure that they wouldn't have been happy with that.
No, but Cena's probably one of those who can do what he wants,
with The
right?
Rock. He's with The Rock, where The Rock actually fucking called him in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, the fact that The Rock actually called him in the middle of the ring.
It's a shame he was in an elevator at the time and couldn't answer the phone, because that would have been incredible. Yeah, I'm sure they wouldn't have been happy about the CM Punk reference. I'm sure they wouldn't have been happy about the eyes towards AEW with the Dean Ambrose reference as well.
Yeah. However, sometimes eventually they got to get over themselves. I mean,
they haven't got a choice. It's kind of out there, and
Yeah, they got to get over themselves.
It's like the missionary position thing. That was stupid. They shouldn't have cut that out. That was a great line.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the whole, I thought it was a good. I
want
to see more.
If it wasn't for the messy end, I actually think this would have been a very good episode. Yeah. The messy end took away from it a little bit, because I was a bit like, what the fuck is even going on?
Yes. Yeah. And it's kind of disappointing as well, because it's a British wrestler.
Yeah.
Like, this is a British wrestler. It's not.
And there's not many of them. There's a lot. I mean, there aren't many of them that get there and have a chance.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And she's being featured in prominent position, and some of the confusion as well is it's kind of like when you get Matt instead of Jeff. Okay, so she teamed with B. Priestley.
Okay.
So WWE have got the Jeff, just like they do actually have the Jeff. They have the Edge instead of the Christian, even though that's way closer, and I think Christian's better than both Matt and Jeff anyway. But yeah, it's just an utterly bizarre one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Utterly bizarre, because it's not someone it's not B. Priestley. She's not well known like in that regard.
Yeah,
she's not well known like that. Like,
for sure.
She was in Stardom before. I
think they accomplished two things majorly with this first episode. Mm-hmm. They accomplished the feeling that anything can happen on Rampage, because now there was a title change immediately. For a title that wasn't theirs, but is a big title in the world of wrestling, in the sense that it's a promotions world championship. They accomplished some short-term kind of storytelling to a degree with the Fuego del Sol match, and the way that they managed to tell that story in that match in the ring in like 5 minutes is amazing to me, because we don't see that often. Often short matches like that are just a squash match or something, or they're more of an angle than a match.
Yeah, I agree with the second point. I think it's far too early to say that anything can happen, and I never really buy the anything can happen thing, because it's all scripted. So
no, but I think it's about a perception, though, right?
It is. I don't think they have that perception yet, though, because that was one match, one title changed, sort of thing. It's
true.
That can happen anywhere at any time. That's the point.
No, that's true. That's true. But then
I think that will happen next week potentially. I think that's where that starts to kick off. That this isn't a B show. This isn't,
This is almost like an A plus,
SmackDown.
Right?
It's a supplementary show. Yeah, it's the third hour of.
Which is really clever. So let's end on a couple of predictions for next week with AEW. because we've got a few interesting things happening over Dynamite and Rampage. We know on Dynamite that Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus are getting their tag title match. And are we both saying that we think they're going to win that one?
I'm not sure if they do, but I think they are. I think there's a good chance that they do.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure if they do or not. Whereas, like with the Christian Cage Omega, I was certain that Christian was going to win.
I would be willing to say that they are going to win it, and I think it's because of the Christian thing. I think that's why they win it, because they are tied to that story.
So I think this could be the interference thing that you mentioned before. I think there could be interference here that backfires.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe because Christian gets involved and makes it backfire, or maybe because there's some slight dissension in the Elite.
Be interesting to see, yeah. Be interesting to see that one. And then for Rampage, like we just have to end with, we're pretty sure it's Punk at this point. How do we think they do it?
I don't know.
Because so based on what I've seen and what they're
feel
pushing,
like there'll
it's Darby, right? It's Darby.
Yeah, I feel like there'll be a Darby match. He'll get on the mic afterwards and he'll
because there was actually a point during Rampage that we didn't mention where they showed Darby up in the rafters with Sting, and the commentary made the point of saying Darby is very nearly the best in the world. So they yet again kind of the nose. That.
It's too on the nose. If I was booking it, I would swerve so hard.
It is too on the nose, but on the nose sometimes isn't a bad thing, right?
Sure. I don't know. I just like a good swerve. I think Daniel Bryan, because if you're coming in to face a feud with Darby Allin, you're going to be the heel.
Are you if you're Punk though? I think if you're Bryan, you are. But do you not think that Punk can still be the face in that situation?
I don't. I feel like it's a misconception to think that he'd necessarily just be the face just because he's being cheered and just because it doesn't matter what happens, he's going to be cheered.
Yeah, that's true.
But I like Punk as a heel. I think he's far more interesting as a heel.
But I also think that, like I've said previously, I actually think maybe Punk is neither. Maybe he's in between, right?
Sure.
Because that's where he's always done his best work, is when he's kind of...
I disagree, but sure.
What I mean by that is, if he's a heel, to me, if you're a heel but you're a heel that's being cheered, you are a tweener. Like, at that point, you're not a heel because you're getting cheered.
No, not necessarily. Because you're a tweener if you're actually being a tweener. If you're a heel that's being cheered, you're just a heel that's being cheered. You should be like Dolph Ziggler. When he cashed in, he got cheered. He was a heel though. Britt Baker, I guess, is a heel that's getting cheered. Like, she's not a tweener, she's a heel.
But she was also getting cheered in her hometown. So that's
this is the thing that confuses me. For this whole feud, I say whole feud, it's been like 2 weeks, but she's been positioned as the face.
I don't know if she has.
She has. Yeah, she absolutely has. Go back and watch. She's absolutely been the face against Red Velvet.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely has. And again, she fought Nyla Rose before that, and Nyla Rose.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how they position Punk, because I also think maybe the Darby thing is the swerve part of it. Like, as in, maybe Punk is there, but maybe it's not a Darby Allin thing, because we all think it's going to be, Darby Allin's playing up to this best in the world thing. We all think that is going to somehow include Punk.
But again,
there's a way for Punk to be there without that, right?
But again, CM Punk said it. The best in the world is Daniel Bryan, isn't it? What if it is actually Daniel Bryan? That'd be dope.
Imagine if Punk has given that away and nobody realized.
Right?
Can you imagine?
Dude, I'm telling you. It's the easiest way to make Daniel Bryan heel, and it is great heel. I think it'd be fantastic. Again, devil's advocate, I don't think that's going to be happening. Yeah. I think it could. I think it'd be interesting.
So here's my question as a final question, because we'll find out by the time we do another episode of our AEW Power Hour.
Yes.
We will know. But what I want to know is, do you think that at least one of these two men that is coming in is a heel?
Yeah.
So there's no way they're both face. But there is a way they could both be heel, right?
I mean, they could both be either, but I think it makes more sense to have one come in as a heel. I would probably make that Daniel Bryan.
Do you think having them debut relatively close together, because it does sound like it's going to be at most like a month or two, do you think that kind of diminishes the impact of either? Should they be spaced out more?
It depends what you do with them. I don't think debuting them relatively close together will hurt either, because they're
so big, right?
It's the same, on the same episode, they debuted Matt Hardy and Brody Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And they did both well because they were so different to each other. They didn't put them in the same position. And they did swerve people on that because people thought that Matt Hardy was going to lead the Dark Order.
And Matt Hardy did well with that because he played into that as well. He played into it on purpose to
just
actually
like CM
help.
Punk's playing into Daniel Bryan being the best in the world. Dude, I'm telling you, imagine if it happened. I look like an absolute genius.
If you've called that, yeah, you're a genius.
But no, it doesn't hurt each other. But
okay,
they need to not interact.
Interesting.
You do not have Daniel Bryan and CM Punk come into contact for a while, because then you can build that
until it's over a belt, is what I would say.
Maybe.
Well, that would be my approach to it, because we are going a little bit long here.
I think Daniel Bryan should win the belt. I don't think CM Punk should.
Oh no! I disagree, and I'll get to why in a minute.
It's the same as the Edge thing. I think there's more interest in him telling stories now than there is necessarily him winning the belt.
But I think Punk with the belt helps AEW.
I don't think AEW needs that now. I think they're past that point.
Really?
They've done that. They've done it. They've done it with Jericho and Moxley. I don't think they need another ex-WWE guy to be the top of the brand for now.
They might not need it, but they can also do what they want, right?
Sure, but CM Punk's a big enough name. They don't need him to be the champion anymore.
No, but I guess my point is Punk being champion isn't a bad thing. It's not like
it's not a bad thing, but I just don't think he should.
Interesting.
I think he's past that point where he needs it. It's the same as Bryan. Bryan doesn't.
What if he's around for a long time though?
It doesn't matter.
Because it might not be. Because I think
there's more interest in him telling stories.
Ah, really? Okay.
Because he said so himself. He said the only two ways he gets back into wrestling is with a shitload of money and good stories.
But good this might be both, right?
Yeah, but that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is good stories don't need title belts.
No, they don't. But a title belt can elevate a good story.
Sure, but Punk doesn't need it. Bryan doesn't need it either. But I think Bryan is more likely to win a title, and that'll be an New Japan title.
Put it this way. This is the way I would put it. I don't think there's a chance in hell that at some point in their AEW careers, I think both of them at some point will hold a belt. Whether it's the main belt, I don't know.
You are right. Daniel Bryan will hold the New Japan belt. He will hold the US title. I don't think CM Punk holds a title. Because I'm honestly not sure how long Punk's going to be around.
But that's the thing, right? We don't know. That's a hard one to call.
That's exactly. It's like I think it'll be an Edge situation. I think he'll get close. I think he'll challenge, but I don't think he wins the title.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it depends. It depends on a lot of things. Because I'm not disagreeing with you necessarily, but the reason I think it depends on a lot of things is if he is around for a long time, I think it makes it more likely.
I don't think he can be around for a long time, though.
Why?
Because of his age.
He's 42.
Yeah, and in wrestling, that's old.
Not really. Not
really. It is. He's got bad knees. He's he's got other ambitions. He wants to be an actor.
No, I get all that.
Get
all that, but
I'm not even sure if he's a full timer.
Really?
I'm honestly not sure if he's a full timer because he is really getting into the acting stuff. So
I get that, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm with you because I think that, put it this way, I think there's a chance he's around for longer than Brian is.
Yeah, probably.
But this is my thing: is a long time in wrestling is also a weird thing because a long time in wrestling is 3 years. Do you know what I mean? And I can easily see Punk being around for 3 years.
So you would rather have Punk than Hangman?
No, but I think there's a way you can have both.
I think there are a laundry list of people that should be winning an AEW World Title before CM Punk does.
Unless they feel like Punk does add more to it. But this is the thing.
AEW has gone past that. They're not Impact. They're not TNA. They have gone past that point. They do not need that kind of person to make.
They don't unless Punk gets bigger outside of wrestling. Because, for example, if we were talking about right now Brock Lesnar or The Rock.
I think if they get Brock Lesnar doesn't win a title.
Really?
If The Rock comes in, he doesn't win a title.
Really?
Yeah, because it would just, like I said, like you said, they don't want to piss too many people off. And having a potential part-timer come in.
But what if he's not a part-timer? This is my thing, is on the Punk situation, let's just say in an ideal world, this is my thinking on it, is in an ideal world, if he is somehow full-time and he's signed up for, let's say, 3 years, because I think 3 years, that would take him to 45. I think he could probably go till then, because most wrestlers can do top level till mid-40s these days.
No, yeah, sure.
And especially on a lighter schedule than the WWE situation, I think it makes it more likely, right? So do you not even think in an ideal situation where he is there every single week and he is there for 3-4 years maybe, that they wouldn't think like, because if he's only going to be there for a year or 2 years, I agree. Because at that point, he does add more as just this story guy who's having dream matches. But if he really is in it, like 100% in it, and he's in it for the long haul, does it not add more to actually treat him like he's really in it and he's not just an attraction?
You keep going back to adding more. I don't think they need to. I honestly don't think. I think having CM Punk there,
hold on. Go on.
They've done that. Done that. They've gone beyond that. They already have.
Do you not think he does it more than either of those people did it?
But having him in the company would do that. I don't think putting the belt on him would do more than that.
Interesting. Okay.
That works if it's like someone like Mankind, who you don't expect to get the belt. But AEW don't have someone like that. They have people they're building towards that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if
if it's a situation though where he eventually does get the belt, and then they do say that he goes with Darby first, right? Say that he is around for a while, and he does eventually get the belt, and then that leads to Darby eventually having the belt, and they kind of do the full circle thing. It's like, that could be cool. Because that could be a reason for him to have the belt. Like,
sure. And if he is around full-time for a couple of years and he is putting the work in and it's deserved and it makes sense, sure.
Yeah. So to be clear, I do agree with you that it shouldn't necessarily be a situation where he comes in and is like, oh yeah, let's immediately make him the champion, because that's not what they need, right? Previously, they don't need it potentially, but they don't need it now.
They benefit enough from having Daniel Bryan and CM Punk associated with the brand and being in the brand and being on their TV shows.
But they do need to also be major points of that show, right?
Why?
Because they do. Like
no, but that's part of my point. You don't. Wrestling is very much, what have you done for me lately? Just being a big name shouldn't get you anywhere. Brock Lesnar should not be able to muscle his way into somewhere because he is Brock Lesnar.
No, I get that, but we know,
and that's going to piss more people off.
Yeah, but
if you have Daniel Bryan turn up instead of CM Punk.
To be clear, I'm not saying they do it immediately, but what I'm saying is, if you have them on the show, you are a little bit silly if you never put them near the top of the card.
No, but I'm not saying don't put them at the top of the card. I fully expect if he's there on a consistent basis that he will challenge for a title. I just don't necessarily think he needs to win one.
I don't think he needs to, but that's what you keep going back to. And I get what you're saying. But just because you don't need to do something, I don't think always means you shouldn't do it.
Disagree when there's people around you that need it more and it makes more sense to have other people do it more.
Yeah, that's true.
If you've got a Hangman there and it makes more sense for Hangman or it makes more sense for someone else. Don't get me wrong.
Don't get me wrong. I do think there are people that are before him. But it'll be really interesting to see what happens because I can see a way where they do benefit by having him have the belt, but it's not for him, right? This is the thing about these older guys, which I think is missing sometimes, is I think in the Edge case with WWE, I think you're right, but I do think that's quite a different case because Edge is a Hall of Famer. He is, do you know what I mean? He is what he is. He's an 11-time champion, whatever. In Bryan and Punk's case, it's weird because it feels like they both still have so much to offer. And yes, they have to prove that, and I agree with you on that. But if they prove it, it then shouldn't be a situation where, oh, they're a big enough name, they still don't need the belt. Like if they prove that they can offer something, and like you said, if they earn that spot, just because they don't need it doesn't mean they shouldn't have it.
Sure, but they also shouldn't just get it because.
One second.
Like it's a combination of things. I think a lot of the time these people can be better in the chase. There's a more interesting story to tell when they don't have the belt in a lot of cases. We've seen it with Seth Rollins for a lot of his run has been more interesting when he's chasing the title than he's actually had the title.
Of course.
So there is potentially a lot more they could do. And I'm not saying any belt. I think a mid-card belt might do well. I completely expect Daniel Bryan's going to win the US title.
Yeah.
From
I think it's an interesting case. I think it's an interesting case because I'm with you to a certain degree that they have to earn it. I'm just not with you in the case of if they don't need it, they shouldn't have it. Like,
but if they don't, I don't necessarily mean in that no one needs to win that title.
Yeah. It's just
the people that need to win that title next will win that title.
Other people might benefit more, right? That's what you're saying.
It's not. No. Because this is something WWE does, where they put the title on someone because that person needs a lift. That's not how titles work. You earn a title.
Yeah. But
the title needs you, not the other way around. That's why WWE's title.
Yeah. But that's so by your logic, then you can't really say they don't need it because it's not about them needing it. The belt might need them. In a year's time, the belt might need them. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think they will.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Because, I think if CM Punk was going back to WWE, I think he wins the title there. Because there's unfinished business there. AEW, there's no unfinished business.
But do you not think it's a wrestling business thing for Punk?
Where it's a completely different place with completely different agendas.
It is, but no one will actually see it.
Well, no, because there were two things he wanted to do that he didn't do. It was win a Royal Rumble and main event WrestleMania.
And he can't do those.
Can't do either in AEW. So it's fresh slate. It's new objectives. It's new. It's new things.
I also wonder that Tony Khan being who he is, though, I feel like he'll probably put that belt on Punk at some point.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, but I don't think.
I think Punk is the one you can get away with the most, right?
I disagree.
Like, really, you think so?
Yeah, I think it's the other way around.
Is that just because Bryan's been around more?
Just because Bryan's been around more. He.
Do you think that situation changes a bit if Punk is around for a long time?
I don't know. It depends. It depends. If he comes back and it turns out he's actually lost a bunch of steps and he's a lot slower and he can't go as well as he used to, then no.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting, right? Because
it's such a tricky place because in a year,
you might feel totally different.
No, I won't. I absolutely won't, because the person that should be holding that title in a year is MJF.
Okay, yeah.
And what they need to be very careful about not doing is, so far, all of their champions, all three of them, have had over 150 days. They've had good chunky runs.
So they could have some shorter runs, right?
No. That's the absolute opposite of what I think.
Oh, you think they should all have?
They should not have shorter runs.
Okay.
I don't think they should have shorter runs at all. I think they should all have. I do not want to see an AEW champion that has a month run.
So basically, they should all have at least 4 months, is what you're saying.
I think they all need to have chunky, meaningful reigns.
Yeah.
Unless something drastic happens and it turns out it doesn't work, and then
do you know what though?
Do what you got to do.
You've mentioned MJF just, and my God, if we ever get to MJF and Punk somehow, Jesus Christ, that's going to be fun.
If you have CM Punk and MJF in the same company, there is no way you don't.
That's going to be fun as hell.
There's no way you do. And I honestly think that's what Punk, and I think that's what people at that stage in their career should be doing. They should be having interesting feuds, telling interesting stories with younger people. So would you say that because I know you're quite open-minded about things when it comes to wrestling, would you say that if they get to a situation where story-wise it makes sense for them to win the belt, then you'd be okay with it? Okay. Yeah. But like I said earlier, I'm evidence-based. There is no evidence currently that CM Punk or Daniel Bryan should. Well, Daniel Bryan more so should,
because it makes more recent in your mind, right?
Daniel Bryan makes more sense. CM Punk coming straight in, being at the top of the card doesn't matter so much, but being straight in and being like, he's going to win the title.
I agree with the straight in thing. To be very clear, I do definitely agree with that. There's a lot of unknowns right now, right?
Absolutely.
I wonder whether, because Tony Khan is actually usually quite clear with this information. I wonder whether once Punk is debuted, whether they will turn around and say, yeah, he's signed for this long. This is how long he's gonna be around, because they've done it before.
People, even if they're not open with that, people will find out.
Yeah.
That's to say.
I feel like this is where I would end it. I feel like with Punk, he wouldn't be doing it if he. Everything I've heard about Punk from documentaries and from different interviews suggests that when he chooses to do something, he's always 100% in.
Oh yeah, sure.
And that suggests to me that if he's doing AEW, he's probably full time. The question is, how long is he full time for?
Yeah, and it's what his goals are for this. Because maybe he's got no interest in winning the big one.
Yeah, true.
Because Daniel Bryan said that. Daniel Bryan's only goal now is to work in New Japan and put on the perfect wrestling match.
Does that even exist? Does that thing exist?
I mean, if it does, it's Daniel Bryan that's doing it.
True. But,
hey ho, we will find out soon.
Yeah, we will find out very soon. Let us know how you think Punk is going to be debuted. How do you think Bryan's going to be debuted? And also, do you think that either of them during their time in AEW should win the top belt? And if so, why? What do you think that offers to the company?
Which is a very tricky question, because we're here and the only way we know is by being there. So we've got a lot of time to go for that.
For sure. I feel like it's a very exciting time.
For sure.
This, to me, I've been watching wrestling since the 90s, and it hasn't felt this exciting on such a consistent basis for at least 20 years now.
Yeah, no, the closest it got where this felt exciting was, when Impact actually had some power, and then they shut it all down a little bit.
Yeah. So, with all that being said, we will see you in our NXT episode, which you, at the time of you seeing this, should be tomorrow, which will be Thursday. Every Thursday for your NXT episodes is the plan. And then we will see you again next week for another AEW Power Hour, where, fingers crossed,
there'll be fallout one way or another.
We get some really interesting shit. And please subscribe here, leave comments, let us know how we can improve the show, because we are still very new. We know you've got Cultaholic, and you've got Steven Larson, and you've got What Culture, and you've got, who else have we got? Wrestle Talk. All these amazing wrestling YouTube channels. Love them all. Subscribe to them as well. But we are new within this community, and we'd like to make our own little space within it. So please let us know how we can improve. And we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Ta-da.